Now, for those of you who might be looking to buy a home, I want to give you just a few rules of thumb. The first is that if you just recently got married, I encourage you to rent for a year to figure out where it is that you want to live. Most people transition jobs in the first couple of years of their marriage. Most people only stay at a job for 3.2 years now. That's the average. And it takes about 5 years to break even on a home because of closing costs and realtor fees. It takes about 5 years for the value to increase to the amount that you poured into that house. So I'd like for you to have a fair amount of permanence when you purchase that house. Doesn't mean you have to be there forever, but at least 3 to 5 years so you don't keep going backwards with each purchase. On top of that, it's important to be consumer debt free. I mean, no more credit card payments, paying off your cars, removing the consumer debt from your life so that you have margin in your budget every month and you don't have to have any fear or worry or anxiety on making your monthly mortgage payment. It's important for you to have an emergency fund in place. If you will have 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside in advance, it'll give you the margin and flexibility. Because when you get into a home, you're responsible if the AC unit goes out, if the fence falls down, if there's a roof and hail damage claim that happens to your roof, you need to have the money set aside to be able to pay for those things as they come. So the emergency fund is absolutely vital. Now, on top of the emergency fund over here, it's important to set aside 10 to 20% of a down payment on that house. If you make it all the way up to 20%, then you could remove private mortgage insurance, which will typically cost you like $75 for every $100,000 that you're borrowing. So if you bought a $200,000 house, you would have a $150 PMI payment that is no added benefit to you. It's only to protect the mortgage company. So 20% down is amazing, 10% down is acceptable, but you've got to be able to put something into this home so that if the home values ever go down in price, you still have margin. You could sell it and get out from under that debt if you ever had to move to be with family or to move to another part of the country for a job. I want you to have a margin in your life. So that makes things a little bit easier. It's like the car with shocks. When you hit those bumps, you need to have the margin so that it's nice and smooth when you hit those bumps. The next is it's really important that your mortgage, your interest, your taxes, all put together are less than 25% of your take-home pay. If you're putting more than 25% of your take-home pay into housing, it's going to make everything else really tight in your life. Now, there might be a season where you feel led to do that, and I'm not mad at you, but as a rule of thumb, it's important to make sure that your payment on your home is less than 25% of your take-home pay. And finally, remember the closing costs. Now, closing costs are just one of those things that if you're a first-time home buyer, you've never experienced. My wife and I, we saved up 20% down after we had our emergency fund, and we had saved about $5,000 to buy furniture when we moved into our house. Well, guess what we forgot? Closing costs. So we show up to close on the home. I don't know how we forgot. We're pretty good stewards. We manage well. We had all these other things in place. But all of our furniture money had to go to pay closing costs. And so we then had to wait a good while to save up more money and buy furniture that goes into the home. Our friends would come over and they would see that our 1-bedroom apartment had been moved into our home and it did not cover the expanse of our home. So my point is, realize there's closing costs involved. Make sure you've got the emergency fund. Don't touch the emergency fund to pay closing costs. Don't touch the emergency fund to put a down payment. Each of these pieces need to be in place so that when you move into the home, you have complete peace about where you're living, about the margin in your life, and then just setting this aside and saying, God, thank you. It gives you peace. It gives you a gratefulness that you're in the home and you can say, Lord, I've got margin in my life that makes this comfortable.